What you're about to hear is spoilers for Avengers Endgame. If you have not seen it, turn back now. We are the Bro Force Squad podcast, coming at you fresh and dehydrated out of Avengers Endgame. I'm the mad scientist, Brian Banner, alongside the mayor himself, Jeff Hornacek. Horns, let's get into grading this movie, how we grade all of our movies: acting, cast, story, plot, best scene, rewatchability, and impact on pop culture. We're going to switch those last three because I think the impact is going to be, we'll have a lot to talk about. So let's get right into it. Guys, before we start, this is going to be spoilers heavy. I know there's don't spoil the end game. We've seen it. It's officially released, so we felt comfortable in doing a spoilers review. So we are going to spoil. If you haven't seen this, you need to stop and go see the movie right now. Just stop. Okay, now that you've seen it, you're back. Jeff, acting cast.
Wow. So we're here, Banner. I mean, like, the journey is complete to a degree, the 11-year, 22-movie saga. And acting cast, I got to say, Robert Downey Jr. went out. He bookends the MCU with two incredible performances. Everyone's like, well, no shit, you're going to mention Robert Downey Jr. for cast. But I think he gets taken for granted how good he is as Tony Stark. And I cried real tears in this movie because of his character arc. Yeah, he was awesome in this.
I did too, and I'll go out to say I think his two best performances is Iron Man and Endgame. As we've seen him, like 8 times as Iron Man throughout this entire franchise. This is his best performance. I think. I mean, and I honestly, and I think all of us on this pod, we're not big Chris Evans fans. I thought he was fantastic in this as well.
Sure. Downey had a ton of meat on the bone in this. Everything with him and Pepper and Morgan, Peter, and obviously his arc at the very end was incredible. This is the ensemble cast. Is the fact that all these people agreed to come back is so fucking cool in and of itself.
Literally like 45 characters.
I know, and like people showed up that I was like, oh my god, he came back, she came back, holy Santa Claus shit. I was half expecting Anthony Hopkins and Liv Tyler to walk in together too. Those are like the only two people that didn't. Yeah. Just the fact that these people showed up was incredible. Chris Hemsworth, I love the guy to death, but he just was in a different movie for me, man. And like, I was getting worried an hour and a half through because even the emotional parts, because he has this prosthetic beer belly and it's like, he's even more slapstick than he was in Ragnarok, which I liked. But in this context of this film, I don't know, man, it just felt out of place to me. I still laughed at parts of it, but it was not my favorite part of the film. I'll say that. I love Chris Hemsworth, but again, just there's a time and a place for it. And the last MCU movie with the stakes we had in this, I just felt like he was not in the same film as everyone else. How about you?
I'll agree with you. I thought he was fine. He didn't bother me near as much as he bothered you. I think that just him basically going through, hey, I saved my people, or I thought I did. Thanos comes and just destroys my ship. I see my brother die, who I just kind of reconciled with. Then I lost my hammer, so now I go and get this axe. I have a chance to kill Thanos, and I fuck it up. And so what else would you do? Just smoke weed, drink beer, and play video games with your, two best buds. I don't know. It didn't bother me.
I just didn't feel like he had any redemption. Like, even at the end, he was still a Buffalo Bills fan.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. They should have somehow made them all murked out and super strong again and cut. But it didn't bother me that much, honestly. Like, it was fine. I agree. The emotional stuff with him and Frida it didn't quite hit home the way that the emotional stuff hit with Captain America seeing Agent Carter and Tony and Howard having their encounter. Those stuff really hit for me. I will say Thor and Rocket being on Asgard, which I think is the writing. I think that having Thor and Rocket together just
Yeah, the way they were playing Thor to put him with Rocket, like you
Wasn't
can't have
gonna work.
you need a straight man somewhere, right?
Yeah, and it just wasn't gonna work. And I think he was more a product of the writing than anything else. Hemsworth, he played what they gave him. That's what I'll
Yeah,
say on him.
yeah. All right.
Uh, any other last thoughts on the acting and cast? I feel like we've been saying this for years, and especially on recent pods with different things. But I mean, everybody came to play. Everybody did exactly what they should have done. Did great.
Yeah, I mean, this movie had plenty of emotional beats, especially in the last half of it, that are just so earned that I mean, all those performances from these actors, Widow, Hawkeye, I mean, they've put the time in to have us care about these characters enough to where you feel all that shit, and I just appreciate that a lot.
I I want to talk about Hawkeye real quick. Actually, Jeremy Renner was willing to play ball, so he shows up in Thor for like 2 seconds. They kind of, I don't know, his character in the first Avengers, like you get brainwashed, whatever. Okay,
And
so
he was not happy about that.
right.
Like,
So then Age of Ultron, they actually gave him some good meat.
they made up for it,
They
yeah.
made up for it. Okay. So then you're in Civil War, but you're kind of not, you know, I don't know, kind of wishy washy, that will they, won't they kind of a thing. Then just not in Infinity War at all, right?
Hmm.
They made up for it in this. Everything that he was,
This was like his movie, really, in
it
a lot
really
of ways.
was, with the cold open, with him and his family turning to dust, and then obviously him just going on that murder rampage through
So
the world
fucking
for the
cool.
next 5 years, and then having to kill Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow. It was just, it all worked for me. And talk about a dude that kind of like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine in the X-Men series. Just, he was willing to play ball even when it looked bleak for him and his character. He didn't jump ship, and I thank you, Jeremy Renner, for that.
Yep, agreed.
All
Glad we
right.
have him.
So moving on, story plot. Jeff, I know you have some issues with the pacing of this movie and some of the tonal aspects of it. So why don't you go in on that, and I'll just kind of chime in.
So this movie, I almost feel like there's like three different stories to it. Not even, I mean, the three acts obviously that every film has, but we have the beginning part, which is dealing with the fallout of the snap, which I was really, really looking forward to see. Like, what does that world look like? The beginning was weird with the pacing, like them taking out Thanos so quick, and then the 5 years later. That was kind of bizarre. I know you and I mentioned we almost wish they would have just started 5 years later. The heist aspect of getting the stones, I think I'll like a lot more on a rewatch. It was really fun to go revisit these locales, but I was still trying to kind of keep up with everything. Like, all right, where's this stone now? How are these all tying into each other? How are we like revisionist history because they're like changing a few things from the timeline? And then the third act is obviously like the fallout when they get the stones together in Thanos Revenge. And that to me was like some of the greatest 45, 50 minutes in cinema history I've ever seen. So I think I liked each of those three stories progressively more. The second one I think I'll like a lot more on a rewatch. How
Yeah,
about you?
yeah. I think the fallout of the snap, and them just killing Thanos. We could have lived without Thanos. I mean, I guess it gave him a little bit of motivation to get there into the third act, but I think we could have lived without that. The idea of all of them going to these different previous movies to retrieve the time stones, really, really fun idea. And it was really fun seeing, basically revisiting the Avengers and revisiting that atrocity of Thor the Dark World, but seeing parts of that movie that we didn't see the first time was really fun. Some of it was a little poorly executed. Um, I'll say I think like Thor and Frito was a little poorly executed. You mentioned it, I think, off pod. Captain fighting himself, poorly executed.
Yeah.
But the idea, and it all still worked. It all still kind of fit. And then, like you said, that third act when they assemble all the stones together and make the Iron Gauntlet there, just absolutely fan fucking tastic. it made up for it. It was a perfect culmination of 11 years and 22 films. Like they fucking did it. Like Kevin Feige, tip of the cap is not enough for you. You
Agreed.
deserve so much more than that. To have that vision and to make all of this work was just incredible.
Just to schedule all those actors to show up is like,
yeah,
damn.
Just to literally go, okay, look, you in 10 years, you're going to be in cinematic history. Well, I don't know about that. And to keep these people buying in to where you have 45 of, what would you say, of the top 100 actors, you've got 45 of them. 100 actors in the world, you have 45 of them in one shot, on set together. That's absurd.
It was pretty fucking impressive.
Any last thoughts? Are you ready to go into best scene?
Let's do it. Best scene.
Best scene. You go first because I literally have no idea what I'm going to say.
So Thor in this movie, he kind of bothered me. He again, like, we're just jumping back and forth. He's progressing. He's regressing. One scene that was great was when they were all together trying to figure out where each of the stones were when they were trying to travel back in time. And he basically retells the story of Thor the Dark World and then starts going off about like Jane Foster, like why they broke up, how like he wonders if he could call her back and like get back together with her. And Stark, and he's drunk. So Stark's like, all right, man. He goes, no, I'm not done. Let me finish. And he's like, really, they just need to know where the fuck the ether is. And he has like this whole story about Jane and like the one who got away and all this stuff. I thought that scene was great, mainly because it was like great to relive like all these moments in the MCU, like how each of the characters in that room had, I don't know if it's Tony or Cap who says like, we've all had some interaction with one of these stones. And they're all talking, and then when Thor gets up, he's like, I'll take the ether. I got this one. His speech was like a drunk professor or someone giving like a bad lecture. That was my favorite scene.
It's basically me anytime I go on a rant on the pod.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that was a good one. Lighten to move it up. I mean, I'll take the low-hanging fruit there, I guess. When they have all of those actors on set and they just kind of pan across and it just keeps going and going and going.
It was unbelievable.
Finally, we hear Cap say, Avengers assemble. Just, that was the first time that I cracked a tear and there was tears running down my face. That was the first time.
And I'm so glad that they had the patience to not bust that out in the first Avengers movie. Because everybody wanted them to.
They wanted to, and then they almost did in the second one at the very end. Whenever
I guarantee you, Whedon had it in his script, and Feige was like, "Let's hang on with this."
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they filmed it. They probably filmed it in the first Avengers too.
When everyone shows up, when fucking God damn it was just so cool. And then Peter seeing Stark saying like, "Where were you?" Like, I woke up and you weren't there. I just already started welling up.
It's I think I missed a lot of that end just because I had tears in my eyes the whole time. Speaking of tears, I'll just honorable mention, which we've already talked about, Tony's funeral. Again, having all of those characters all dressed in black for Tony.
And his recorded speech for Morgan, which is really kind of to the fans also, I felt
100%. I honestly thought he was talking to me, not Morgan. I kind of forgot that he had a daughter, to be honest with you. But the next time that I cried, I only cried the two times, was when they assembled. And then when Favreau says, "Are you hungry? What do you want?" And she says, "Cheeseburgers." Like, I fucking lost it, dude.
Yeah, what a great callback to the first Iron Man, too.
And the thing that I like about that is you have to be invested in all of these movies to get that. Like, my wife, she's seen them, but she didn't necessarily feel that the way that I did.
Yeah.
But I've been married to this franchise longer than I've been married to her.
Because when they get off the plane, when he comes back from Golmir, and he's like, cheeseburgers first.
Then press conference.
Yeah, then press conference. Yeah. And he shows up with Burger King to the press conference.
He pulls one out of his fucking suit jacket. It's fantastic. All right, so let's run through this rewatchability. I mean, yeah, we're gonna watch it again. I'm probably gonna watch it again this weekend. We're as the time of recording this, we saw it Thursday night. There's a chance I will see it Friday morning. I may call into work and see it Friday.
Yeah,
Again.
I'm going back at some point for sure. The second act I definitely need to revisit, and that whole last scene I am dying to see. Maybe the first act will be a little bit better for me on a rewatch. I know the second act will be, and the third act is like my favorite 40 minutes of movie history ever.
Ever. All right. Now that we got that out of the way, I mean, impact on pop culture. We've been talking about it. Now we've lived it.
All right, so the Matt Geiger, who couldn't be with us, but I saw it in the theater with him, and I think he really enjoyed the movie. We'll have to get his thoughts on the next episode he comes on for Protein Shake. But the end of Infinity War, the snap, everyone disappears, and we say like, well, that kind of feels disingenuous or half-assed because we know these guys are coming back. When that happened in this movie, everything worked for me. Emotionally, you felt it all because you knew the cost that the characters paid to bring them back was high, and it just worked narratively. But I think the overall, impact on pop culture is this pulled something off that has never been done before, and I don't even think Marvel themselves can replicate this again as well. So I think we'll look at this as it's 3 separate phases, 22 individual movies, but one saga that bookends incredibly, concludes so emotionally, so well earned, and I'm still kind of in shock that was so well executed.
I don't think this will ever happen again in anything. I don't think any franchise, any studio, this will never happen again. Like you said, the time and effort that it took to put in it, the amount of people and resources, the patience to pull something like this off it will never happen again. And that in itself, like, we've lived through history. Like, I want to say something, but it's going to be really fucked up and not, like, I shouldn't say it, so I'm not going to say it. But we've lived we've lived through historical events. This is a historical event in my mind.
Yeah, I think if you
not in the traditional sense of like, World War I or World War II, but this is definitely a historical event, something that nobody thought could ever be executed, and yet they did it. And this is something that, you could literally watch a movie every day for almost a month and never have to repeat a movie. And it's a continual through line.
And to have the patience to build up a character that long and then end it, like when he says, "I am Iron Man," and snaps his fingers, that's now... And I think in 20 years, that'll be up there with like Luke, "I am your father." Like that's an iconic movie moment. And I'm starting to get emotional again, just thinking about him sitting there when Peter says like, "No, it's going to be okay. We won. We won." And Pepper comes up and she just touches his chest piece and the light goes out. It was just for them. And again, there are a lot of great movie deaths, but because of they made us as fans and huge lovers of the original property, the IP, fall in love with this character over so long that it's like a friend of yours. Like you just had to say goodbye to him, basically.
Yeah, it sucks. Do you remember after we saw Civil War, we were all really upset that they didn't kill anybody?
Yeah, we were.
I stand corrected.
Yeah, and it's funny because we were talking about how like the end of Civil War feels like kind of like they're not really in a riff with each other. The beginning of this movie, like Cap and Tony fucking hate Tony, like he still has not forgiven. He seems like he's never gonna forgive him,
right,
for what happened. In fact, he's probably more angry at him when he meets him at the beginning of this film than he was.
Yeah, because I think he really feels like they're in this situation.
The Avengers. And if they were together, they would have won. That's kind of how he feels.
Yeah, exactly. They're in the situation they're in because of Cap's decisions in Civil War. And, you can't... It's just like what a good villain is. Like, you can't... You empathize with him. You understand where he's coming from. Whether you agree or not, you get it. And the way that it all comes...
Banner, I know we have a lot of thoughts, and again, guys, this is just raw. Like we just got out of the theater, so we're not as composed as we normally would be. But the big question now, and I hate to be the people like, all right, what's next? But the great thing about Marvel is they have this foresight and this thought that they put into everything. This Infinity Saga will forever stand alone on my Blu-ray case, rack, whatever the hell you want to call it, bookshelf, as one of the most fond times in my life as a movie fan going. And the end to this, the last 15 minutes, are incredible. And I cannot wait to see them again. And they're iconic. But what does Marvel do from here? They obviously have their Fox characters back now, which probably won't come in the fold for, I would guess, at least a year and a half or so, because they have already things in production. But what as a fan of the comics, what do you do now? Can you one up this? Probably not. So is there a different way they can go? I'm assuming we're not going to focus on Cap and Iron Man, obviously, because they're out of the picture. Great endings to them, but we still have some other great characters to focus on. What do you think Marvel does?
So obviously they set up the Falcon and Winter Soldier show that's going to be on Disney Plus. How they set that up, I enjoyed. You pretty much from Civil War and even kind of the end of Winter Soldier, you start to feel and build their relationship together. To see them being boys now, that's going to be cool. So you obviously have that storyline to go down. It felt like to me when Peter said it's going to be okay, we won, to Tony, that was Marvel's kind of, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that was them saying, hey, Spider-Man is now going to be our anchor. We're going to build everything around him now. And
it's just tough because Sony still owns the characters.
That's the monkey wrench in it. But with the success of Endgame and what they've done, could Marvel buy it? Now, Sony will never sell it, so it doesn't fucking matter. It felt like they're going to try and do that. So I would say, especially with Spider-Man having so many good villains, he's going to play an integral role moving forward. I also think the Fantastic Four, now that they have them back,
Doctor Doom could be the big bad.
Doctor Doom could be the big bad dude next. I've been saying this for a while too. I think Adam Warlock has to come into the fold soon, and I think he's going to have a good through line, or could possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, James Gunn, supposedly they're still using his Guardians 3 script. I think they set that up pretty well. So do we see a bigger focus on the cosmic now? Because like you can only destroy Earth so many times, even though that's where all our favorite heroes are. I don't know, man. There's a lot of ways to go. I'm excited to see it, but I think more so than that, I'm excited that we got this conclusion. And again, Endgame was not a perfect movie to me. Probably not even like a top 3 MCU movie for me. Like I would probably put Avengers, Infinity War, and Civil War, and probably the first Iron Man might be close to it, but it has the best ending I could have possibly hoped for. And to me, that's what will resonate, and that's kind of the taste that's left in my mouth. So I, as a fan, am very happy tonight and very satisfied. Not a perfect film, but a perfect ending to me.
Yeah, again, it's like you said, it's not a perfect film, but it is a perfect ending to in my opinion, it's the perfect ending to the MCU. They can make no more movies, and I would be 100% satisfied.
I totally agree. 100%.
100%. All right, guys. We have been the Bro Force Squad podcast. Check us out everywhere. Just Google Bro Force Squad. That's 3 words. You'll find us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Check out our website, www.broforcesquad.com. And Jeff, you do that letterbox thing, so look for his letterbox review on the new Avengers Endgame movie. Till next time, we will see you guys later.
Hop on the Wi-Fi. No password, of course.